Dallas backwards is salad. The road trip with the letter C has ended. As we depart from the Cleveland Cavaliers, we end up at D, the Dallas Mavericks. My shirt is covered in dog hair. My dog is shedding a lot right now, but I'm excited to talk about this team. I really like Luka Doncic, to be honest. And to start off this video, I should say that I used to be a Luka Doncic hater. Sort of like how in my Boston Celtics breakdown, I talked a lot of shit about Jason Tatum. I used to do the same exact thing for Luka Doncic. I don't know if it was really a fault on him. I knew he was good, but I think I was jealous of him because I think that this guy just has everything. Like, he's so naturally talented at basketball, and I shouldn't say that because he probably has a lot of talent that he's worked so fucking hard for. But I used to hate him. And now I love him. And the team is now in a phase where they're sort of figuring things out. They hired Jason Kidd over the offseason. They're retooling the team after Mark Cuban kind of got into disagreements with a whole bunch of people around the organization. There's a whole big rift between the front office and the players at one point. Rick Carlisle, their coach for nearly a decade, is gone. Their championship coach, more than a decade maybe, I don't even know. He was one of the longest tenured coaches in the NBA, gone with the Indiana Pacers now, which is a good pickup for them. But he was a hard coach, and maybe that's not what Luka Doncic needs, because Luka Doncic doesn't need you to be hard on him. He's going to perform every single night. Certain players on the team, sure, maybe they need a hard grip on them, but I don't know. I think that getting rid of Rick Carlisle at this time was the right move, despite the fact that he is an amazing coach, passionately amazing coach. But yeah, it was the right move for them at the right time, and I think that this team needed a refresh because clearly things just weren't working out well in the playoffs. So new coach Jason Kidd, somebody I'm not too keen on, has his work cut out for him, and we're going to talk about that in this next segment. So let's figure this out together. Jason Kidd's hiring. Now, I understand why Mark Cuban did it. The Jason Kidd hiring is kind of like you have somebody on LinkedIn that you previously worked with, and we're making LinkedIn jokes, and I don't even update it, but it's like you have somebody on your LinkedIn that you worked with at a different job that did a completely different task, but for some reason you kind of kept in touch all the years, and then you're like, hey man, I got this job opening at my organization, and I want you to come on over and let's see how you do. That is the most pompous thing that I could have compared it to. I mean, there's so many comparisons I could have done. But the hiring of Jason Kidd was kind of written in stone for this team. I heavily paid attention to his years in Brooklyn, and I was not impressed, to say the least. Everybody knows the iconic "hit me" line. And he did not do that great at all, to be honest. For someone who had such a beautiful offensive game when he played, his offense when he coaches is kind of errant. He promotes players into roles in which they shouldn't. But then again, if it's anybody that he can relate to, it's Luka Doncic. Not to say that Jason Kidd had the same scoring touch when he played. He did not at all. But Luka Doncic and him control teams in similar ways. I would say that Luka has more of a scoring touch than Jason Kidd did. But in terms of controlling a team, that's what these players kind of sought out to do until Jason Kidd got older and the dynamic sort of changed for him. But in his prime, Luka and him are similar talents. And that's really the only way that you can analyze his coaching, is that, like, does he have a player on the team that he can sort of make better because of the things that he knows, not because of his pure coaching ability. And about endgame plays and ensuring that your team's going to win, he's going to do it about as well as most coaches would do. His play calling was weak at best, but with this team, at least it's a little bit different, as you clearly have somebody who's going to have the ball in Luka Doncic, or you have reliable players like Tim Hardaway Jr. And all you have to do is run something from your playbook that is decent to good and hope that the player makes the shot. When it comes to late game situations, I really don't fault coaches that much. I will say Jason Kidd in the past has not done that great, but coaches really do just try their best in that situation and just hope for the best. It's a lot of luck at the end of the day. So would you say it's a net positive move for the Dallas Mavericks to to hire Jason Kidd at this time, I think that there was nobody else on the market that really fit what this team needed. Like, Rick Carlisle is a cold, analytical type coach. He is a user of advanced statistics. He does try his best to keep his players in check and is hard on the players when they don't perform as well as they should. He sees little games and tweaks constantly. As angry as I was when the hire first happened, Mark Cuban kind of was just doing what he could in this situation. Like, you don't want to bring in another hardhead in order to rile these players up. He wants to retain his assets, and keeping Kristaps Porzingis, despite the fact that he choked in these past playoffs, is probably something that he really wants to do. It seems as though he doesn't want to break up that core of Kristaps, Tim Hardaway Jr., who he paid a lot of money, and Luka Doncic, obviously, who he paid a lot of money, which is the most worth it spending on this planet. I truly think he's a top 3 player in this league. Like, there's no question to me. When you watch him play by himself individually, he's just so good. And you know what? I'm done being a hater for Jason Kidd. I really went into this video with the perspective like, damn, I'm going to have to take a shit on Jason Kidd. Like, I really got to talk a lot of crap about him because of all of the because of his coaching history and how kind of hilarious it was with both teams that he coached, the Bucks and the Nets. It's kind of like crazy how his history sort of led him here, where he did have to take that assistant coaching role with the Lakers, maybe learn from under Frank Vogel. But maybe he needed all of that coaching experience to sort of lead him here, where he had his tenure with the Nets, and obviously that was a team where it was a Steve Nash type situation. Man, the Nets always just like take chances on coaches, but it was a Steve Nash type situation where he was thrown into this role and didn't really know how to handle it. The team had huge personalities on it. I mean, that starting 5 of Deron Williams, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Brook Lopez. It was a lot to be thrown into, and he did okay with it. I mean, those players are pretty much corpses at that point, except for Brook Lopez. And he really wasn't given the tools to make a great team. It was a good team on paper when you look at those names and you say, oh, that's really good. But then that kind of leads you to his Bucks tenure, where the real thing was that he switched Giannis to the PG. He fucked up the team really bad. He didn't. I don't think he made the playoffs at all those years with the Bucks. And when you have a coach available like Coach Bud, I mean, you're gonna take it. Despite all of his downfalls, he's still eons of a better coach than Jason Kidd. Then it leads Jason Kidd to take an assistant role with the LA Lakers. And I really like when coaches do that. Maybe when you're a player, you don't gain as much a perspective on how to coach well or not because you're in the moment. And then when you're thrown into a coaching role, how are you supposed to be sort of observant on what good coaching is if you're just already the coach? So taking that assistant role gained my sympathy, in my opinion. And he won the championship with them and then departed to take this role, which I think probably fits him the best out of any team in this league. Like, if it were any other team, except for like the Orlando Magic maybe, I mean, he's not going to take that. But if it were any other team, you would probably say that that was a bad hiring. But because of the similarities between Luka and him, because of the training that he's had to do and sort of understanding how to be a better coach, maybe, just maybe, he'll go into this season with a refreshed perspective and do good with this team. I mean, working for a team that you won a championship for, you can't get much better than that. And all of these players sort of have to look up to you because you've done for this exact team what they're trying to do. With these types of scenarios, you always think to yourself, will the players have like the ability to talk shit to you as a coach? And in this situation, it's a no. It's just like a resounding no. Jason Kidd was never as good as Luka Doncic, but hey, this is a player coach that will be successful in putting out fires within this locker room, I think. I think the fires of last season really started with Rick Carlisle just being a big, bold personality that he is, silent, strong. Jason Kidd will communicate. He'll communicate with this team, which I think will be good in the end. I mean, I guess the expectation is if things kind of go south within the locker room, Jason Kidd will be able to bring him back up, which reporting in the past doesn't really line up with that per se. But hey, you know, it's a good chance. They took a chance. Mark Cuban took a chance, and I think it'll work out for them. And with this team, you don't really have to get analytical in terms of their gameplay in general. Luka's doing most of the work. And then the spacing that's already been built under Rick Carlisle when it comes to those players like Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., those role players on the team, they are really effective in their roles. And that, to me, is the biggest testament as to why Mark Cuban has to pay these guys a lot of money, even though they may not be as worth it as it seems. Keeping cores together is probably like the most important thing that you can do these days in terms of trying to win a championship. And looking at the situation, the Mavericks probably aren't too far off. They added a few tools this offseason to show that they're trying to move their way towards championship pedigree. But at the moment, it's probably just Western Conference Finals pedigree. And I don't know how they're going to be able to make that leap to championship pedigree with Jason Kidd, but only time will tell. Players to watch. Players to watch. Look, I'm going to start off with my guy that played for the Knicks last year. An effective 40-plus percentage three-point shooter. Just an overall hard player. Reggie Bullock. Wonderful head of hair. Chill personality. I actually don't really know if he has a chill personality, but he is the right move for this team. Now, 9 points per game, yes, but 40% shooting, really awesome. And he's a player that's going to go off because of this team having its answers sort of in place in terms of where's most of the scoring going to come from. Luka Doncic and potentially Kristaps Porzingis. The other answer that you need is where's the rest of the scoring going to come from? And that's where players like Tim Hardaway Jr. is coming in. And last season, once Tim Hardaway Jr. went cold in the playoffs last year, the team lacked scoring. It was just focused on Luka Doncic trying to do his thing. So that leads me to say that watching a player like Reggie Bullock sort of be consistent, I recall vividly that in that Knicks series when all of the players went cold, Reggie Bullock was one of those players that stepped up along with Aaron Brooks. He played his ass off. He played his absolute ass off. So you want that tenacity on your team. In terms of a career move for Reggie Bullock, I mean, this is a really positive place for him to be. A good environment with players that he knows, maybe in Kristaps, and it seems like it's a situation that he's excited to be a part of. I think that that's a championship-winning move. It is a crazy take. It is a crazy take to say Reggie Bullock is your championship-winning move, but like it's one of the moves that you have to make. Think about Shane Battier. Think about all of those players that are role players that just give you a bucket when you need it. Then the king of that, Ray Allen, an amazing three-point shooter. If Reggie Bullock continues on his trajectory, he's not going to be Ray Allen level, obviously, but he's going to fill that similar role. You just need role players to win championships. I'm telling you, that's all you need. You need tenacious, consistent role players. And that's what the Dallas Mavericks were trying to acquire. And I know that's what Jason Kidd knows. I know that's what Mark Cuban knows. That's how they won a championship. They won a championship with one main scorer and role players. So the Dallas Mavericks are definitely going to be a fun team to watch this year. I think it's going to be a team to sort of even watch replays of, and it seems like they're on the right track. It seems, and I don't think it's a team, I don't think there has been a team that has been on the wrong track per se. I don't think I've said that at least, but it's easy to think that this team is on the wrong track. I do predict that this team is going to have a great season. Again, put your NBA League Pass. You're going to want to watch this team. They're fun. They're exciting. When their players get hot, it's really cool. When Luka Doncic gets going, it captures the minds of basketball players. It doesn't matter what your background is. It's sort of a spectacle to watch this display of all-out talent. It's like watching LeBron in his youth. In that comparison to LeBron in his youth, you sort of think about how he's carrying this team. So this year, I think the team is going to step up at least a little bit more. They're a regular season team. I predict about 51 wins.